Hello. What we're going to talk about is Onzen some more. I'm going to go over some of the new changes that we've made, some improvements we've made on it, and we're also going to run over the reason for these improvements and some ways of how to deal with service calls in the future because of these improvements and how we can carry on with the whole Onzen. So let's get to it. I've got a extremely old Onzen, one of the first versions there that we'd be removing out. So if we were going to go and replace, I guess I'll just jump up right now. Here is the latest version. Alright, it's the Onzen 8 with a niche, which is this piece right here. I'll explain how this operates in a little bit. And before that we went to just the regular version 8. Now what we would do with the version 8 is we would replace this older one with the version 8, and the cell was removable by the consumer so that they could change the cells out in the future themselves, because we realized that this is definitely a consumable item and you don't need a tech to do it, so we made it easy enough for the customer to change it. What came up with this one though was the electrical connection. This socket inside of here is susceptible to the salt water in the spa, so you'd still have to drain your spa to change this cell out. Otherwise you'd have damage on the inside. So to simplify that, we went to the one with the niche, so you can thread this whole part of the cell out, and you've got 4 feet of cord, so you can keep the spa full of water, run this up to the top edge of the water, and then unthread the cell without having to worry about the connections for the cell getting wet and corroding later on. That's definitely something to worry about. Now what we're going to do is, if you're going to change a cell, if you have the room, and this is the first thing you ever want to do, is you want to take a look and see, I've got this recess here. Now if I was going to a regular version 8, I don't trust that that's going to fit. In fact, I had checked earlier with the nut, and it's going to ride up on the edge of this recess. So on a situation like this, where it's not going to fit, we're going to have to look around the spa to find somewhere else to put the cell in. We're lucky, we're fortunate right here over on this side. We've got 2 suction spots. So we can drill out the hole for this suction. Otherwise we'd be reaming this guy out over here. Okay, we come back around, face me again. What you'd end up doing is, if we were going to drill this guy out, and you had this original size, you'd use a 3-inch or a 2 7/8. 3-inch works, but it's a little bit tight. 2 7/8 actually fits in really nice. So you take the 2 7/8 on the inside. The outside here, this is a 3 3/4 for the niche, 3 3/4 for the niche, 2 7/8 or a 3-inch for your older style. And then once we bust this off, it would just sit inside. This guy would sit inside of the hole it's centered while we drilled out the new hole. Now if you were taking the early version 8 out, that's a 3, oh, where'd it go? 3 1/4, so we'd have a 3 1/4 inch. Same story again. We'd remove this, you'd have a hole in the shell. This would lock inside of the hole to hold the hole saw centered, and we could drill the hole out for the niche. We don't need to do either of those because we're going to be drilling a hole brand new from scratch. Now in a situation like this as well, because you have the old cell sitting in there, we do prefer that you remove this cell and put a 2-inch plug in to close that off, and then you're going to take the hose and run it to a 3/4 inch coupler and just run it up to the drain inside of the spa and cap it off so that we can have the old cell back. I'm going to go this side, easier access. So now we have our new Onzen installed, siliconed in place. And how this can work, because now we have it as a user serviceable item, and we have it that they don't have to drain their spa to remove the cell. They can unthread the housing run this above the water level, and they can remove the cell outside of the water, take it in, get an exchange. There's no need for a technician to go to their house anymore. Now what we found as well is that the current limiters, they're working fine, the generators are working fine, these housings are working fine as long as no water gets in there. So once we have this installed, there's no reason for a technician to have to go out. This can be completely considered a user serviceable item. So once we have this system installed in their spa, there's no reason to have to go out there. And put it back in. Just going to feed that in. Thread that up. And they're good to go with the new one. Now back to the original version 8. Really, for all intents and purposes, if this one shuts down, I don't see any reason why you couldn't just explain to the customer, say, you know, next time you drain your spa, run with some chlorine for the time being. Next time you drain your spa, remove the cell, make sure it's nice and dry inside. They can remove it, bring it into the shop, you can give them a replacement, you take it back, everything's good to go. Another quick note, just for you, for the techs, for everyone's, just for your knowledge, we are always continually improving the product. So every time we're coming out with new cells, we're constantly working on the compositions within them, how they work, how they're performing, what's causing them to break down. So, I mean, every so often we come up with new batches. So, I mean, we are continually improving these cells. When you get a customer to bring their cell in, it's probably a good idea to confirm that. Like, I mean, we'd probably talk to the customer on the phone, do some on-phone diagnostics, make sure you know their salt levels are right, and their water levels, or you know, whatever water chemistry and everything's sitting all right. And when you get them to bring it in, I would definitely have a system running in the showroom where you could test their cell, right? I mean, it'd be easy enough to even have one of these styles, plug this into a running Onzen system in the showroom, thread their cell in, throw it over the edge of a spa running in the showroom, or a test spa in the back, whatever you have, and just confirm that the cell is not running, and then you give them a new one. Everyone already should be aware, but just to run past you again, for your salt contents, we can run 1,000 to 1,500 parts per million for these cells versus what the old ones were. I mean, salt water is a corrosive, so we wanted to bring that down, get it down to 1,000 to 1,500, definitely. So that's your new version 8. Little bit of information, improvements we've made. If you have any questions, feel free to call me anytime too, eh? So that's how you fix it. Hey, I'm back. One more thing I was going to bring up. The cell, warranty on Onzen and warranty on the cell is for 2 years. The cell is considered a consumable item, which means that it does need to be replaced for maintenance and to keep the system running. For 2 years, we'll cover the cells for the 2 years as it stands now. We'll cover the cell for the 2 years, but I mean, the customer needs to understand that beyond that 2 years, yes, we'll warrant it over those 2 years, but they break down at different rates depending on what water chemistry is. After that 2 years is up, they are expected to purchase the new cells and to keep their system running as a consumable item. User serviceable consumable.